Anomalies, on the other hand, are set based on a boundary. And these can be upper boundary, which is if it's higher than normal alert. It can also be a lower boundary to alert on lower than normal values, or you can do both. Once you've defined the boundary, you also define the sensitivity. So basically, you're saying how far out of the range of historical values does it have to be before I consider this an anomaly? And you can set this based on sensitivity. So a high sensitivity will alarm very quickly if it's outside the normal values, whereas a medium or a low sensitivity will only notify when you're further outside the normal values. So higher sensitivity is lower tolerance. With the anomaly thresholds, you also can define the season, which is basically the interval. So I can look at weekly, which is the default. So, if I'm looking at Friday at 2 o'clock, I can look at last Friday at 2 o'clock and so forth, back the last 8 intervals. I can look at daily, which is same day, yesterday at the same time. So 2 o'clock today versus 2 o'clock yesterday versus 2 o'clock the day before. And then I'll go back 8 days to build the baseline. And I can also do it hourly. So if I've got a statistic that's supposed to be very, very stable, and it's running 24/7, and I want to get notified right away if it starts to change, the hourly gives you the fastest baseline to build, and it will notify the quickest when something changes. You can also set a minimum value, and this is a cutoff that will allow you to skip all anomaly checking if it's below that number. So the idea is maybe I've got a particular CPU anomaly threshold set, and it spikes up to 2%. Well, that might be 100% higher than what it was yesterday, and that might look like an anomaly, but it's still too low for me to really care about. So the minimum value just lets you set that bar to say, you know what, if something spikes the CPU, but it's under 10% of the CPU, I don't really care that it spiked. That's not an anomaly that's important enough for me to look at. So that's optional, but it gives you a way to kind of insulate against potential false anomaly alerts or anomaly alerts that are based on values that are just too small to be significant.